Hi, my name is Davina Hanson, and today I will be addressing you, the people of City Council, about the hazardous pollutants contaminating American Beach and Fernandina Beach, Florida, and a solution for preservation of all aquatic organisms and tourism. Let's get right into discussing the mass fish fatalities down at American Beach. Um, since this is a heavily trafficked inlet of the island, we know that we would like to keep all the humans safe as well as aquatic organisms. And after testing tissue from the deceased fish found on the beach and various water samples, we have concluded that there were high levels of the toxin thiodane. Thiodane is a pesticide we often use on the golf courses around here on island and a lot of crop and various other landscapes. Fact sheets here on thiodane and its molecular makeup and some of its inner workings. It should be noted first that thiodane is incredibly toxic and a water-soluble substance. It is an organochlorine insecticide, and its main active ingredient is endosulfan or endosulfan sulfate, which is a highly toxic chemical. It's used often around the island in golf courses and occasionally on crops and different various landscapes. Sand can either come in a crystallized form or a liquid solution. It needs to be incubated in soil in order for it to protect the landscape it's being used on. Though it is so toxic, it is banned from being carried or shipped in shipping containers across oceans. And so some of my theories on how it may have gotten into our inlet there is through sediment that travels from the river to the ocean, wildlife that was crossing through some of these golf courses and then of course went into the ocean. Um, and wind can also carry contaminated leaves or anything like that. Since thiodane is extremely water soluble, the water molecules would just mix right in with those toxic molecules and making it pretty easy to contaminate the inlet. Fish and other aquatic organisms breathe through their gills and absorb things through their skin. This would be one way that they were getting the contaminated toxin inside of them. This is also a threat to humans as the water on their skin, the thiodane would easily seep in and absorb through their skin or get in their mouth or eyes. Thiodane's number one active ingredient is endosulfan. Thiodane is just a brand name for essentially endosulfan. Thiodane is a product of Bayer, yes, Bayer that makes our aspirin, and is classified as a danger good and a severe marine pollutant. Thiodane is extremely toxic, and in other cases where we've seen contamination in large natural bodies of water, such as our inlet down at American Beach, we also see this coupled with mass fatality of aquatic organisms such as fish. Thiodane is also extremely toxic to our human tourist visitors down at the inlet, who, with just a little bit of exposure to the contaminated site, will result in skin irritation, nausea, vomiting, and then eventually the person will experience delayed neurotransmitters, and shutdown of the nervous system, and eventually fatality in the person exposed, or in this case, aquatic organism. I have another fact sheet here on the metabolic effects of thiodane in our aquatic organisms, if you'll take a look with me. We'll start with thiodane-contaminated fish experienced alkaline phosphate activity in the liver and muscles. If we were to block the enzyme acetylcholinesterase action with the desired result of signs of intense cholinergic stimulation, the genetic code for acetylcholinesterase is ACHE and is a protein coding gene. Cholinesterase is an enzyme that causes hydrolysis of the acetylcholine. This enzyme can be controlled with atropine. Inhibition of this enzyme leads to cholinesterina's inactivity by binding OPs, which results in a buildup of that protein coding gene and the nervous system and leads to shutdown of neurotransmitters. We also observed that the toxicity of the thiodine contaminated water increases with pH levels, which is a problem with it being so hot down here that the pH levels will continue to rise, especially with global warming presenting a present issue. Thiodine, especially endosulfan, its number one ingredient, proved to be extremely nurturing of cancer in the human and animal cells alike, as well as it was observed to cause single-cell tears in the fish's gills. It was also noted that the aquatic organisms were metabolizing the endosulfan at an extremely rapid rate. Therefore, it was distributing to their heart, their brain, their lungs, their nervous systems extremely fast. Since the levels of thiodine were so high at the contaminated area over at American Beach, and posed such a high threat to humans and aquatic life alike, we've explored a few possible treatments of bioremediation via bacteria, algae, or fungi to try and remediate those water levels back to safe and healthy levels for humans and aquatic organisms alike. To get into the solution of bioremediation of the thiodine contaminated water and soil down at the American Beach Inlet, out of the 5 bacteria genre that we tested against the contaminated water samples, 2 of them showed outstanding success of degradation of the endosulfan in the water levels. All 5 bacteria groups can be isolated and used as a catalyst for bioremediation of the infected waters, but 2 stood out with outstanding success, one of which was Flavobacterium, or alkalinogens. Flavobacterium consists of over 130 recognized species and is often found in soil and freshwater. Both of these bacteria are genus of gram-negative and rod-shaped bacteria, typically motile in nature. Both would prove as successful methods of bioremediation of the thiodine-contaminated inlet at American Beach, as both have proved themselves successful in the degradation of endosulfan. With thiodine and endosulfan being as toxic as they can possibly be, I strongly urge the members of City Council to choose one of these options of bioremediation in an attempt to preserve the biodiversity of our aquatic organisms and human organisms that visit American Beach and hold it dear. I'd like to thank you all for your time and for listening to my proposal of bioremediation of the contaminated thiodine water at American Beach's Inlet. Thank you.